Good evening. We're talking about the Reflection 1 from Module 2 this evening, and I'm discussing the biopsychosocial risk and resiliency, and I made some notes a little bit, so please bear with me here. I was, the biopsychosocial assessment was developed in the 70s by George Engel, and it takes into consideration the biological and the psychological and the social aspect, and creates it into one. It talks about having the medical model, and and as far as like mental health and that sort of the diagnosis and that, but I like to think of it as a transactional and the and reciprocal. So I have a case study, so to speak, and that's how I can relate to the biopsychosocial model and assessment tool. And it's kind of personal to me. My son, who is 7 and fixing to be 8, something wasn't quite right. And, he was probably like not even 2 years old. And, as the parents, my husband and I, we just adapted to him, and we thought, well, he's just not a good sleeper. Maybe if we, took and put blackout curtains and got him on this strict schedule, and, we kept taking him to the doctor and whatnot. And what happened was that he wasn't developing, right? And so I think about the protective things that we did and the protective factors, and that kind of coincides with the biopsychosocial, is that we first became aware of, hey, something's quite not right here, and then we took the initiative and we kind of investigated and did these protective risk factors, and which in turn kind of turned into this resiliency, which allowed him to get involved in early intervention and different kinds of therapies and stuff. And we also changed our ways that we were doing it at our home, and the social aspect of, he's not just, he doesn't go into, his environment is different. He's in, all special education courses at his elementary school. He does private therapies. And so being able to take into effect the medical model of that, which is, he's listed as having autism spectrum disorder level 2. But he also has, these things that medication and a diagnosis is great on paper, but how do we implement this, in the home, or even as the assessment tool when we were going through all of the process through the school and with the neurologist and whatnot. And I really liked sorry for the informalness, I apologize, the viewpoint discussion when it talks about the biopsychosocial model in contemporary psychiatry. And it kind of, as we're growing in our society with different testing and stuff, we're able to see how medications and different things and our neural pathways and our transmitters are, it's changing the way we diagnose, and it's changing the way that we're actually kind of looking at things. And so I just thought that was very interesting. It was like I was asking about, where were 3 or more things that you learned utilizing that biopsychosocial model and assessment tool. But there was a lot of things that I didn't even consider, which was, we talked about the DSM and different things that were just kind of maybe outdated as far as being a social worker and practicing these assessments. and I just thought that it was very interesting on how we're handling things, and using, the medical model, and just where does this leave us when we're moving forward in as social workers. And I wanted to bring that up. I apologize for getting off topic. I was still, confused about that. And I knew, just graduating from the bio, the BSW program, I knew about the biopsychosocial model, and that, but just all the different areas, and how, our the sociological, and in our homes, and how it affects, just not just the individual, but on a micro, macro, and meso level. And so I just wanted to, do a video this week, and talk about that. And I hope that I explained all that, and I really enjoyed on the risk when it talked about, I really enjoyed when it talked about the preventative things that we can do. And I guess that also brought into the things about in that discussion in this reading is the preventative things that we're doing allowing us to prevent things that occur as far as mental health is. And I that's one thing that I'd like to, expound on, is like, are these being able to be preventative, and what that looks like in our field. And so thank you very much, and I hope that you have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.